Hi, and welcome to the Caterpillar Cross Stitch YouTube channel. My name is Ford, and this week I'm going to talk to you about the things that I personally do while cross-stitching that you're not supposed to do. So all the gatekeepers and purists out there, get ready to clutch your pearls. Hey, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and like this video. It doesn't cost you anything other than a few seconds, but it makes a really big difference for me. So if you ever learned something from me, pay me back right now, just click that little icon down there. I'd really appreciate it. Now, cross stitch has been around for over 500 years, so there's a lot of history and a lot of received knowledge when it comes to how to do it. And a lot of those things fall under the heading of old ways are the best ways. Sometimes you don't understand why something is done the way it's done until you try to do it some other way and you're like, ah yes, the wisdom of the elders. But other times, the reason we did it in a particular way is no longer valid, or we have newer, more modern tools and techniques that make it easier or yield better results. So it's a good idea sometimes to question some of that received wisdom and do things in our own ways and that work better for us. Because after it all, it is our art form and it is our creation. So however we want to do it is the right way to do it. I like to say there are no shoulds and there are no rights and wrongs in cross stitch, but there are things that work better than others. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that I do that if you have an older relative who taught you how to cross stitch in your youth, they might find shocking or offensive. The first thing that I do that I've been told you should never do is I jump around on my pattern a lot. I do like to start in the middle, which is one of those received wisdom things, but you're also told to kind of work your way outward from there. But I found that a lot of times the focal point of the pattern is in the center, and that's the more fun part to stitch. And the parts around the outside are things like borders and decorative elements, and they can be a little bit more boring. And if I do all the fun parts of something first, those of you with ADHD will relate to this, I am never going to finish it. So I kind of have to ration myself. I'll do a little bit in the middle and then I'll go do some of the boring parts. And then when I start to get really bored, I'll go back to the middle and do some more of the fun parts. So that helps keep me motivated to violate that rule of don't jump around the pattern. It just works a lot better for me. Another thing I often do that is kind of considered bad form by the old school is I will carry my threads across the back of the pattern for a little ways. To a certain extent. I'll usually run only maybe 5 or 6 stitches, or often I'll tuck my running thread underneath stitches that are already there. You're not supposed to run across the back because it's hard to keep tension in the thread, but tucking under existing stitches helps prevent that, and because sometimes you can see it from the front. But I do some kind of clever routing sometimes to make sure that my thread doesn't run directly behind any holes in the fabric so that you can't see it from the front of the project. And if there's not a huge amount of contrast between the fabric and the floss, then it's not going to show up anyway. So in certain circumstances, I will run my thread across the back farther than is generally considered acceptable. And that's part of my stitching philosophy, which again, a purist might find offensive, which is that I only care about the back of my project insofar as it affects the front of my project. So for instance, when I'm doing a vertical column of stitches, which I made a whole video about my technique here, instead of all those little vertical lines on the back, I wind up with horizontal lines on the back because it doesn't look as good on the back, but it looks better on the front when I do it that way. And in a similar vein, when I'm doing back stitching, sometimes I don't even do a true back stitch. I'll do a holbein stitch or a running stitch or mix and match those in order to reduce floss usage or make sure I get sharp corners or straight lines. And I will run my back stitch across 4 or 5 squares sometimes on the front of the project to make sure I get a good straight line that floats across the top of the other stitches and stays visible. Most of the time, if you're taught by a traditionalist, they'll tell you you need to do each little square one at a time on your back stitch, and I just don't truck with that. Hey, make sure that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming products, events, or stitch-alongs from Caterpillar. Hit the link down there in the video description or in the first pinned comment and sign up for the Stitch Code newsletter. Plus, as soon as you sign up, you'll get an ebook with 10 free PDF cross-stitch patterns in it. So find those links down there so you don't miss out. Another thing that I do that a lot of old-timers have gone out of their way to tell me is wrong is I lick my floss to thread my needle. That's right, you heard it here first. I'm an obdurate floss licker. Another thing that I do that some people consider wrong is I will change patterns. If I don't like how something is positioned or if I don't like the colors of something, I'll totally change that and swap it out. Sure, the pattern is somebody's art, but the stitch is my art, and the result is a collaboration between the two of us. So if I want to change the color on something, you can bet I'm gonna. In fact, I made a whole video explaining how to do that for you. Another thing that I was originally taught you should never do that now I do all the time is I leave my project in my hoop. I don't take it out of the hoop and roll it up and put it in the bag every time that I'm setting it down to stitch. Anything for me that is a barrier to my just picking it up and working on it for a little bit is a barrier to me working on the project. So I want it to be ready for me to pick up and immediately start stitching. So I leave my project in the hoop unless I'm going to set it down for several months and not work on it. I'm so glad you found me here on YouTube, but that is just the start of the amazing community that Caterpillar Cross Stitch has. Make sure you find us on Facebook or on Instagram so that you can get the full benefit of that amazing supportive community that's grown up around the brand. And speaking of hoop, something that I am famous for is I stitch with my hoop upside down, or what I call stitching in the well. Now there are a bunch of different reasons that I do that, and I made a whole video about that as well. But it helps keep the project cleaner, it reduces fatigue on my hoop holding hand, and it makes it so if I drop a needle and that kind of stuff, it just lands in the hoop instead of rolling onto the floor. I really like it, but some people consider it blasphemous. Another one of my habits is, again, about reducing barriers to stitching. Starting and stopping threads for me are always a risky time that I might lose focus on a project. So I like to work with nice long pieces of thread. I'll double them over once they get to the end of the needle so that I can kind of slide my needle along as I go to keep it, within an arm's length of the surface of the project. But it's not uncommon for me to start with a thread that really has me pulling all the way up above my head, like doing a John Travolta impression with each stitch, because that reduces barriers to stitching for me, because starting and stopping are risky times. So the traditional wisdom is you should use short lengths of thread, only half a meter long or something, but I don't agree with that at all. I say use as long of a thread as you can manage. If you see it getting frayed or ratty, or you're having other problems like tangling, then sure, go ahead and work with shorter threads. And if you're working with specialty threads like light effects, metallics, that kind of stuff, absolutely use a shorter thread, because that'll mitigate a lot of the problems that you have there. But for regular embroidery floss and doing regular stitches, staying alive all day long. Another thing that I do, which people apparently find positively shocking, is when I'm ironing a finished cross-stitch piece, I iron on the front. I put my iron directly onto my stitches. I use a high heat, but I turn off the steam function of my iron and I use a spray bottle full of clean water instead, and I make sure that the surface of my iron is clean, and I am very careful, but using something between the stitch and the iron, or using the iron only on the back, I just do not get that perfect, smooth, crisp surface that I'm looking for, and it doesn't fill up my stitches quite as much. So when I'm ironing, I carefully iron on the front of my project. Don't tell the cross-stitch police. Another thing I do that a traditionalist thinks I'm crazy for is I never pay for framing of my cross stitches. I frame them myself, and I have a bunch of different ways that I do that, and I've shared some of my techniques about that in the past as well, but I don't really want to pay to get something framed and displayed, because I am a hardcore DIYer. So I try to make it as good as possible, and I use quality materials so that my project doesn't get ruined over time, but if it's something I can do myself, I'm going to do it myself every single time. So what about you? What are some traditional rules that you were taught around cross-stitching that once you became more experienced and transcended that model, you threw out the window? Share them in the comments down below, and maybe someone else can learn from you, and we can build our own reservoir of perceived knowledge as innovators in the craft. That is all I have for you this week. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you so much for watching. For Caterpillar Cross Stitch, my name is Ford, and I will see you next week.